separate the two, but it's obviously it's a white elephant in the room.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got a little bit of experience in this area. I haven't been through it last year up the North Queensland Cowboys. And having learned from that experience, one thing I do know is it's important to be respectful to the situation and the individual that's acutely been involved in the head coach that's departed. You can't just pretend that what's happened hasn't happened, but it's certainly an important element to it is about moving on as quick as we can. There's 19 games to go in this season, and I think over the opening 5 weeks as a group we've shown that there's a decent football team here, and we could easily be sitting at 4-1 instead of 2-3, and we need to make sure that all the hard work that's gone into this point doesn't come undone, and that we do make the most of the year ahead.
Is it that you have to do work with the players as well, though? Because obviously there'd be mixed feelings amongst the group. That has to be addressed.
Oh, 100%. As I say, we've got to respect the situation, and we've got to respect the feelings of every individual, because as individuals, they each have their own feelings towards what's unfolded. What I do know is I'm not a mind reader, and we won't know until they get out there tomorrow night just how they've been affected. It may affect our performance, it may not, but I can't stand here and tell you that I know how each and every individual is going to feel about the situation. Footballers are good at telling you what you want to hear, and I'll look them in the eye and I'll ask them how they're feeling, and they'll tell me they're good to go. But behind the scenes, I know that some will be feeling it a bit more than others.
Have you spoke to the group yet? What will you actually say is your personal address this morning?
I'll see them for the first time this morning. They had the day off yesterday, so again we'll talk about it. But certainly that discussion will then turn to, and our focus will then turn to tomorrow night's game.
I know Greeny was a popular man up in Townsville as well, but obviously Bomber was really popular here. Does that almost make it more tricky? Like sometimes when the coach leaves a club, it's kind of a relief. It doesn't feel like that's the case here at all, obviously.
No, John, like Greeny, very well respected by the playing group and well liked, and so that does add I guess a layer of complexity to the situation. But I've said this already, that this group and this club has a history of resilience, and when their backs have been to the wall, they've tended to bring out the best in the Cronulla Sharks, and time will tell if that's going to be the case here, and I certainly hope it is.
I noticed you didn't make mass changes up in Townsville when you took over midway through last year. Do you make many changes to what you've got here as far as age structure would be, team selection, all that kind of stuff goes?
Yeah, with all due respect to what happened last year, this situation and this club's in a much healthier position. The roster's in a much better position. There's a greater camaraderie amongst the group, and they're performing, as I say, pretty well. So I certainly don't feel like coming into this situation that there's a lot to fix. I certainly just think it's about making sure that we don't fall into a hole and go backwards from here, because I think there's been enough shown in the opening rounds to suggest that if we can continue to improve and make a few little adjustments, that we want to be contending for the top 8, that's for sure.
You've obviously been pushed into this quite early, and you haven't actually been to the Sharks for that long. In your dealings with the senior players here, or all the players, do you feel as if you got the backing of this playing group for the next 19 rounds?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think one of the things that's been relayed to me over the last 48 to 72 hours is that the playing group are extremely supportive of me, and very confident in my abilities to lead them. So that was very reassuring to hear those words. And as you say, I haven't been here for a long time, but I am confident of the impact I've had in a brief time, and I really, for me, it is about continuing to have that positive influence over this group, and I'm really confident that I'll be able to.
As you say, there is a long way to go. Will you be seeking to bring someone else in to help you as well, or are you happy with the crew that's here?
We've got a really good football department here. We'll have those discussions probably over the weekend, early to next week. We've got a long turnaround after this night's game. For now, it's just about maintaining a focus on this game tomorrow night. But if we feel like we could use another set of hands, we'll certainly go down that path. But for now, I certainly feel like the group, the staff we've got here, and the program we've got here is a really strong one.
Josh, why you say you feel like you've got the support of the playing group? What about the club itself? Do you feel a bit dirty that you're being kind of thrust into this situation, and you know, I mean, not, you sort of feel like no one's safe, you know, because it wasn't very transparent. The whole, you know, do you feel okay?
Yeah, I feel fine. I'm not going to stand here and get into the, I guess, the ins and outs of the process that the club went through in the selection process of a head coach. My sort of focus and attention certainly is about the now and the future, and making sure that we make the most of this season, and that the squad and the club that Craig gets when he gets here at the end of the year is in really good shape.
It's an interesting time to be getting the Knights as well. Let's talk a bit of footy.
Sorry?
It's an interesting time to be playing the Knights as well. Let's talk a bit of footy on the weekend.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just changing the subject to talk about football on the weekend.
Yes, no, it's, you know, they've got their sort of issues up there in terms of, you know, injuries, and they haven't probably started the year the way they would have liked, but you know, both clubs are going to have a lot to play for there tomorrow night, and there's going to be a big crowd there. We know they're always difficult at home, and you know, we need to get our season, I wouldn't say back on track, but as I say, we're at 2 and 3. We could easily be at 4 and 1, and we need to go up there tomorrow night and get the job done. Yeah.
You said there's not a lot you need to fix here. Is there something you are going to look to improve?
As I say, not necessarily. I think we've shown plenty in the opening 5 weeks. We probably threw that game away last week against the Roosters. We could have easily beaten the Canberra Raiders early in the year. So it's probably about when we get into those positions where we set ourselves up for a win, is about going on with the job. And again, there's no magic formula there, but certainly that's something we need to look at, that needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed.
With the circumstances, considering now, what's the benchmark for this side? Where you're aiming for coming into the year?
Listen, I don't want to look too far ahead, and certainly the immediate concern is, I guess, the mindset of the playing group and making sure their minds are on the job. So I think I'd be loath to look too far into the future. Right now it is about you know, respecting the situation, respecting what's happened, and doing the best I can, and as a department and as a group, all collectively doing the best we can to make sure our focus is the game at hand.
Josh, I heard you quoted, I saw you quoted in the paper saying you're like a night watchman, you're filling in the Cowboys, now you're filling it in. You need to rip out a Jason Gillespie double 100. It's a long session for a caretaker to take over.
Yeah, I'm more a slog sweep guy over mid-wicket, mate. But you know, I made that comment, and I'm a bit of a cricket fanatic, and when this situation unfolded, it kind of was the analogy that jumped out at me straight away. But you know, it's about getting on with life. And you know, when I came to this club, I certainly didn't see myself standing here the middle of April having this conversation. You know, so my mindset, my focus certainly had to shift over the last 48 hours. But as I say, one thing I know is I'm standing here taking the role with a very healthy group, a program that's in really good shape, a really committed playing group, and as I said before, this club has a history of, you know, showing its best when its backs are against the wall, and I think that DNA is going to hold us in good stead moving forward.
I know you don't want to rubbish the board either, but on a personal front, do you think it could have been handled better?
It's probably a bit like life breakups are generally messy, and certainly when the media are involved and the soap opera that is rugby league, it's hard for situations like this to, I guess, have a fairy tale ending or a clean ending, if you like. You know, they may look back at how it's all unfolded in the future, and there may be things that they would have done differently, but again, I know the industry, and it's really hard in this industry for things to be kept clean, if you like. And I think for everyone it is about moving on now. For me, it's about moving on with this group. At some point, it's going to be about the players moving on and doing the right thing by the jersey and by the club, and putting a really good season together.
Have you had the chance to chat to Bomber yesterday? Or I guess Tuesday night when it all went down?
Yeah, I've had a conversation with Bomber, yeah. Yep.
How's he doing?
Yeah, you know, he's disappointed, and understandably, and I guess when we spoke, I went through a similar situation last year, having applied for the Cowboys role full-time myself, and so I think I've got a fairly good grasp on how he's feeling. he's got a strong emotional attachment to this club. I had a strong emotional attachment to the Cowboys, and so I think we're able to have a really good conversation and I guess share our experiences yesterday. And but as I said to him, he'll look back at some point in the future on this experience, and it'll certainly help shape who he is as a coach moving forward.
Saying that, Josh, you've made it very clear that you do want to be a head coach in the future. This is a 19-week audition.
Yeah, great audition. Last week it was a bit, sort of a short experience, if you like, but certainly 19 games is just about a full season. So, I don't sort of look at it as a personal thing for me. All I can do and what I will do is the best for this group in preparing them every week, and I really do believe there's a lot to play for, and I do believe we've got a group that can achieve something this year, and that'll be my focus. I love coaching the club, and the one thing I will say is I want to remain at the club into the future, working under Craig, and I'll be doing everything I can in my power to ensure this year's a good year, and how the cards fall from there, we'll see.
Just back to the footy.
Yep.
Couple of good, decent matchups. Nothing better than two brothers going head to head.
Yeah, the Brayley boys going head to head. That'll be a great one. But there's certainly some great matchups across the park. Kalen Ponga at the back. Will Kennedy for us has been one of the form fullbacks of the competition to date. And there are a number of. I think the contest in the middle of the field is going to be critical. I think whoever wins that battle, both sides have got some points in them. So we need to be winning that middle third of the field. They're going to be coming out, I believe, fast and physical. They'll be stinging after last week's result, and we need to certainly match that physicality and give ourselves a chance to be on the front foot and play on the front foot.
And just Bradman Best, obviously, bummer that he's back, the timing.
Would have been nice if he had another week out, but he's a quality young player, and he's just another individual in their team that we're going to have to handle on the day.
How much contact, if any, do you expect to have with Craig throughout the year?
I would say a little bit. Yeah, I'd say, and I'm certainly open to doing what I can to help Craig with his transition coming in next year. So I dare say there'll be conversations throughout the year there.